So today is Christmas Day, and for many of us, having grown up in Christian culture, it feels like a special day for us, and certainly for many people throughout the world, then it is a very, very special day for them, and it's a day in which so many people around the world are recollecting the life of this spiritual teacher, Jesus Christ. And I think it is very useful for us, important for us, just to also recollect this great being, particularly as spiritual practitioners ourselves. He is somebody who has had an incredible impact on the world, even thousands of years later. And I think it's important for us to recollect some of his teachings as well, because, the reality is that his teachings are maybe a lot closer to our own than we really realize. And the Buddha taught a path of morality and meditation and wisdom, and also in his own way, Jesus also taught a path of morality and meditation and wisdom. And the morality of the Buddha is something that's very much focused on compassion, compassion towards other beings, and I think that's really exemplified in this famous simile that Ajahn was mentioning the other day, the simile of the saw, where the Buddha says that, if somebody is sawing your limbs off, if you were to become angry because of that, then you wouldn't be practicing his teaching. So it's this kind of radical, extreme non-anger and compassion. And also there's a very famous teaching of Jesus saying that if somebody slaps you in the face, that you should turn your head and offer the other side of your face for them to slap. So it's this teaching of turning the other cheek, which is it's basically the same teaching as the simile of the saw. It's this emphasis on extreme compassion and non-anger and forgiveness. So we can say that, very much Jesus did also have these same kind of teachings on moral conduct. And the Buddha taught the practice of samadhi and meditation, and even though, as far as I know, I don't think that there are really many recorded teachings of Jesus giving meditation instruction, but if we read the stories of his life, particularly many stories of him performing many different kinds of miracles, and things like, walking on water and multiplying, the story of him taking a small amount of food and multiplying it so that it was so much that it could feed an entire crowd of people. And so many of those miracles are things that are straight out of the Buddhist canon, that the Buddha mentioned that somebody who's very skilled in samadhi might be able to develop these kinds of psychic powers, and things like walking on water and multiplying things, being one, he becomes many, having been just one person, he multiplies himself to be many. So many of these kinds of miracles are things that are explicitly mentioned by the Buddha as something that someone who's very skilled in samadhi may be able to do. And certainly if we believe the stories about Jesus, if we believe that those miracles really did happen, then it seems quite likely that he was very very skilled in samadhi, very skilled in meditation. I was also very surprised when I was reading just a little bit about Christian monasticism and some of the practices, and reading that there's this popular kind of standard practice in some of the groups of Christian monks of reciting the name of Jesus in Aramaic throughout the day as like a mantra, and it's quite fascinating because that's basically this exact same practice that's emphasized in the Thai forest tradition, reciting the name of the Buddha, reciting Buddho throughout the day. So, those Christian monks who follow that practice, which maybe originated with Jesus, we can very much say it's a samatha practice. And the Buddha emphasized teachings on wisdom as well. And oftentimes, if we compare the religions, we might think that Christianity maybe doesn't really teach the same type of wisdom, and maybe there is truth to that. But from what I remember, also reading the Bible many years ago, there are many teachings of Jesus which are incredibly wise and incredibly in line with the teachings of the Buddha as well. Thinking about this teaching that it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven, which is an incredible simile and has the same flavor as the similes that the Buddha gave, this kind of extreme, almost kind of comical, almost ridiculous kind of imagery of a camel trying to fit through the eye of a needle, which is something which is just completely impossible, but saying that it's easier for that to happen than it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. And it's like, why is it so impossible for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven? Because of his attachment to his wealth and his attachment to his status. And that's, very much the teaching of the Buddha as well, the attachment to things, attachment to wealth, possessions, and status is something that brings the mind down, prevents the mind from realizing superior states. So, I think, it's important to say that definitely it's not the case that, Christianity and Buddhism are the exact same, or they're teaching the exact same things, but, I think reflecting in this way can bring a kind of a new perspective on this spiritual master, named Jesus. And, I think because of these reasons, this is a special day for us to recollect this being, and I think Jesus is definitely somebody who is very worthy of our respect. So I'll offer that for reflection this morning.